Good morning, everybody. It
Good morning.
is Saturday.
That's right.
There. Okay. Today we have the three-part parable of Jesus. Religious leaders cannot answer Jesus' question. We read the part in Matthew. Today we're going to finish it, the other two parts in Mark and in Luke, because there's not a lot of commentary. Let's start off in Mark chapter 12, starting at verse 35. Later, as Jesus was teaching the people in the temple, he asked, "Why do the teachers of religious law claim that the Messiah is the son of David? For David himself, speaking under inspiration of the Holy Spirit, said, 'The Lord said to my Lord, sit in the place of honor at my right hand until I humble your enemies beneath your feet.' Since David himself called the Messiah my Lord, how can the Messiah be his son?" The large crowd listened to him with great delight. Now, there's no commentary for Mark, so we're going to go right to Luke. Luke chapter 20, starting at verse 41. Then Jesus presented them with this question. "Why is it," he asked, "that the Messiah is said to be the son of David? For David himself wrote in the book of Psalms, 'The Lord said to my Lord, sit in the place of honor at my right hand until I humble your enemies, making him a footstool under your feet.' Since David called the Messiah Lord, how can the Messiah be his son?" Now the commentary for Luke. The central issue of life is what we believe about Jesus. Other spiritual questions are irrelevant unless we first decide to believe that Jesus is is who he said he is. The Pharisees and Sadducees could not do this. They remained confused over Jesus' identity, which is a central question for us believers now. We can intellectually think, Jesus is this great person and a teacher, and a lot of people say a lot of these things about, he was a good man, he was this, he was that. But until you actually come to grips in your heart that say that Jesus is God.
Right.
And people get confused by the Trinity by saying, well, how can the Trinity be the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, but still be one? It's something I can't definitively answer because I don't completely understand it myself. I believe it.
I am a wife, a daughter, a mother, a friend, but I'm still only one.
Right.
And God is a Father, a Son, Holy Spirit, but it's still only one.
Right, and it goes a lot much deeper than that.
I know it goes deeper than that, but that just overly simplifies,
Because, the Son serves, willingly at the Father's will.
Yeah.
But yet they're still the same entity, the same person.
Yeah. I shouldn't have explained it that way, I guess, because it does very oversimplify.
Yeah, and the Holy Spirit precedes the Father and the Son, goes before the Father and the Son to proclaim Jesus as the Son of God.
Mm-hmm.
But yet he is God. He still is part of the Trinity, yet they each have their own specific identities. They're still one person, one entity, one being, one God.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, it's hard for
us to get our heads around it.
It is, and that's the thing. Don't let that be a stumbling block. And that is a stumbling block, and it's said many times that Jesus is the stumbling block for many, because they can't get over a lot of these things intellectually. So if you just allow the Holy Spirit to settle in your own spirit, okay, this is who God is, and I may not understand it, but I believe it. Mm-hmm. And I believe that Jesus is the Son of God, sent by the Father to rescue us from our sin. He sent him to suffer and die and be buried and resurrected again. And now, like you said, he sits at the right hand of the Father while he makes his enemies a footstool, for the rest of the universe to be put under.
This is just another example of how God, heaven, God's almighty power is so vast. As humans, we just can't fully comprehend
No.
how vast and how mighty and how wonderful God is. We think in our human terms, and we think, well, this is wonderful. But when we're talking about how wonderful God is, we're still considering things in human terms, and there's no human terms that can explain how wonderful.
Because we're finite.
Right.
We have an existence from here to here, whereas God's existence is unlimited.
Right.
And I've heard commentary, and I believe somewhere in here, and hopefully it'll come to me, but people ask all the time, well, if God is so good and all this and all that, why does these things happen, and why does that thing happen? And because he says you will be without excuse, meaning when your time comes to present yourself to him and answer for your life, you'll not have an excuse. You will not be able to say, well, I didn't have a choice. I mean, I didn't have this, or I didn't have that. And so all these things are open to you. You have every opportunity to believe it. But if you choose not to, that's not an excuse. He says, why is there evil in the world? Well, because if there was just, why does God not get rid of the evil in the world? Because there is no excuse. If there was none, and your chance was to meet God and say, well, how do I know that this is all there is? How do I know that there wasn't more, something else? Okay, God's going to give you everything. You have everything. We have it all. So you have no excuse. He gave us everything, and he gave you a choice and a free will. You have no excuse.
And God can use those bad times to teach us and to grow us as well.
Yes, and to show himself to you. So it's off on a tangent again, but it is what it is. Okay. Hope everybody has a glorious day, and we'll talk to you later.